Hey guys, Ryan Earnhardt here from CreativeSoundLab.tv. Well, today we're going to be listening to 4 different classic microphones for guitar cabinets. Let's check it out. Okay, so I have 4 mics here at the studio, and thanks to my friend Mixerman, he lent me his 121 to use for this video. I really appreciate that. Check him out at mixerman.net. So we have the R-121 by Royer. We have the 414 by AKG. Technically, it's the C414B-ULS. But in other words, it's like a 1980s 414. We have a 421. It's a white one, so it's a 421-N, probably in the 70s. And then we have a stock SM57 by Shure. Now, all these microphones today are run through the same preamp, the same channel on my Warm Audio WA412. So the first microphone up is the SM57. Let's check it out. Okay, let's check out the 421. Okay, here's the 414. And here's the Royer R-121. Okay, so a few thoughts on this. The R-121 definitely has more proximity effect. It's figure 8 microphone. That's to be expected. In fact, a lot of shootouts, you really can't just measure a standard distance and then go mic to mic to mic. In real life, you would move the mic accordingly to shape the tone. And so if your standard is, say, 3 centimeters, well, sometimes it's not exactly a musical distance to place a mic. So in this case, let's do it again, just a quick back-to-back this time, but I'm going to scoot that Royer back to a more balanced position so it has a fair chance against the other microphones, and that way we can be less distracted by that low-end proximity effect. And so I thought that was a little bit more fair of a comparison. For me, I'd scoot that 121 back, and man, that is a killer sound. For maybe a solo singer-songwriter, where there's not much going on in the mix, then that close position of the 121 would be killer. That is an amazing sound. But it's really too big for a mix. For me, the first thing I have to do is thin out some of those lows to allow room for the bass guitar. So a little bit about each of the mic and what I like. 57, I mean, it has that classic sound that pretty much works in all cases. Of course, you can angle these mics as well, so we can be angling them, at a 45, even hanging them over the top of the guitar cabinet sometimes can really be a great sound. But I think that it's a classic sound, a little bit kind of pointy in that mid-range, but overall, pretty usable sound. It is kind of flat, it is kind of compressed sounding, so those are just some things to keep in mind. And of course, I didn't experiment with the positioning. I wanted to keep all of these microphone positions the same. Moving on to the 421, I thought that the mid-range was just a little bit different, okay? And I actually quite like this mic a lot, but usually my favorite position is actually at a angled position. I find that it to be a little bit too bright in that top end, maybe somewhere around 3.5, 4K, somewhere in there. So usually in real life, I'm angling this mic just a little bit, but for the comparison, I kept every mic position the same. Now moving on to the 414. This is pretty much how I'd use this mic in real life. I would just slam it up, put the 20 dB pad, and of course, the preamp was also padded. But in general, it gets a pretty great sound. It's a little scoop sounding in that mid-range. It has, you can clearly hear that top end little boost right real high up at 9, 10K. And in general, it's a little lacking in the mids, but it can be a really great sound, something maybe even a little bit cleaner of a guitar tone than we have today. Finally, the Royer R-121. I really like this sound. I mean, I really like ribbons, first of all, but I really like the balance of the mid-range and the fact that it kind of jumps out of the speakers. The guitar amp really actually feels almost like it's sitting in front of you. And it almost seems like you can pick up on the vibrations of the cabinet from that microphone, especially in that closed position. You really feel like you're standing next to that guitar cabinet dialing in the tone. And so it reminded me most of my experience in the room with a guitar cabinet. Now in real life, if I wanted to combine this with the SM57, I probably would record, track through the EQPWAs, shave off some of that low end, and really line those mics up to be perfectly distanced from the guitar cabinet. Okay, so I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Go back, listen to these examples. Pay attention to the mids, not just the low end and the high end, but the mids. That's where it's at, okay? And for me, I don't like to really mess with the mids on guitar cabinets. I really try to leave it alone, because the more you can just let the mic do the work, really the better your guitar tone is in the final mix. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Be talking to you soon.